Hi again. Here we are to continue with our example. And if you recall from the last example, we have two screens. One of them's here, and there's another one off the right side. And what we want to do is we want to animate from one to the other. So you're going to click the button here, and the whole thing will slide to the left and reveal the other screen. The first couple of videos we just wanted to talk about position and then set up all our CSS and HTML. So we're almost done here, and what we need to do now is add a little bit of JavaScript, okay? And what I want to do first is I want to give each of the links right here an ID name. I like to use ID names with JavaScript, so I'll give this guy an ID name, and we'll call it how about next, right? And then the previous button, we'll give it an ID name called prev, or for previous, right? Okay, so now we've got the two ID names there. And then the other thing is, each of these is a div called content, but both of these divs are inside of a div called container, and this is the one we're going to move. I want to give this guy an ID name too. And you know what? I'm going to just give him the same name, like the same class name. I like to use class names for CSS, and then I use ID names just for JavaScript, right? So this guy will be ID container, okay? So now what we're going to do is I'm going to close that up for a moment, and we'll just keep an eye on that, right? So there's our ID, and there's our other one there. And then we'll open up the JavaScript pane here, and you can add JavaScript anywhere you like. I'm going to put it here. You can put it in the JavaScript tag at the bottom of your page is a good spot. And we'll just use vanilla JavaScript, okay? So our first goal is to make a reference to container. So I'll make a variable called container, and I'll set it equal to document dot get element by ID, and then the ID name in our case is container, right? Maybe we'll make that a little bit smaller there. And then let's say var next, which is our next link, will be document dot get element by ID. You got to get the case correct. So, it's camel case, so it starts with a lowercase, and then there's an uppercase letter at the word break. So E, B, and the letter I are uppercase, right? D is not uppercase. And so now we're going to get the next link, which should be this guy, right? And then we'll say var prev is for previous is get element by ID, and the ID name is previous, right? Okay, so that's pretty good. So now what do we want to do? Well, we want to set up a click action on the next and the previous link, okay? So what we'll do is we'll say next dot on click equals function, and we'll want to get the event object that comes with this, and we'll use that event object to prevent the default behavior. Okay, so preventing the default behavior prevents the link from doing what it normally would do. And normally our link would, and since I put the hash mark in there, it won't load anything, but what it will do is it'll jump up to the top of the page, or it'll jump to the ID element on the page that is like no ID, right? So if you put A in here, it would jump to ID A, or if you put help, it would jump to the section called help, or the section that's ID name help. When it has just the hash mark, it just jumps to the top of the page, right? And sometimes that can kind of make your page jump. So what we'll do is we'll just prevent the default behavior of the link, okay? Right, and then the next thing we want to do is we want to move the page, and you can do that by adding a style. I kind of prefer to add a class name and then keep the style in my style sheet, right? So what we'll do is we'll make up a class style, define it here in our style sheet, and then we'll add that class name to container in this onClick section, okay? So let's leave this for a moment and go back to our style sheet here. And what we want to do is container right here. It actually, remember, it's ID container, right? Too. So what I want to do is I want to say when container, right, the item with ID name container also has a class called, let's say, next, I don't know, right? It could be any name, right? And then what we'll do is we'll say, okay, container, you're going to have, let me think for a minute. You're going to have a, let's do left of -100%. Okay? So, you know, then we can kind of test that too. Like if we go up to the HTML here, right? So here's my, there's my style there, container.next. So this means the element that has the ID name container also has a class name named next, right? Then it also will get this property left of 100%, right? So we can test that here. Like I'm kind of curious, like, hey, can I make the green area show up by adding next up here? Oh, look, it works, right? And when I take next off of there, then we're going to go back to the right side, okay? And what we want to do is we want to animate that too. So what we'll do is we'll go to container here, this container property. We might actually have to tie it to this ID name, but let's just try it this way. So we'll do transition of 400 milliseconds. Okay, so if the properties on container change, then, or if any of these properties change here, then they'll take 400 milliseconds to animate. Okay, and that's how long they will take to change. Okay, so when we set the left here, it'll take 400 milliseconds, right? Okay, so now that's all set up, right? So we've got actually now that this guy is set up, this is the important one right here. Oops, this one that says next right there, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to add the next property via JavaScript. So when you click the next button, we're going to put the next property on container element. So what we'll do is we'll say container dot class list dot add, and then the class we want to add is next. Okay, so we'll save that and then we'll give it a test. Oh, there we go. Now, like I said earlier, I'm not seeing the animation there. So I think the problem is, like, I put the transition here on container class name, and I'm actually, changing the property for this ID. So we probably need to do this. We probably need to say container, and then move the transition here to this thing, and then probably just to make it work really good, we'll probably have to put left of 0 there. So then that way the browser will just know for sure that we're going to animate these properties for this element with that ID, and this is one of the properties we're animating, and this will guarantee that we get a default initial value, and then this guy will be the where we change that value on the same selector, right? Okay, so let's give that a try there. Let me see, what am I missing here? I'm missing something. I got left of 0. Let's check. Did I misname that guy? I got ID container there. Right. Let's paste that guy there. Position. Oh yeah, let's actually, wait, let's move this guy. Maybe I gotta put position over here too. Why is this not cooperating? I got left of 0. Oh, did I leave the next property? No, I took that off there, right? What am I missing here? I did something not quite correct. Let's do this. Maybe I got this, maybe I should just move all this on container there like that, and maybe that'll make it cooperate. let's see, what if I get rid of that? Maybe that guy's causing me. Yeah, there it animated, right? So we're getting closer. What am I missing here? I think that see, I think I have it right here. I don't understand why it's reading the next property there, even though there isn't a next property on here. You know what I mean? Let's ignore that for right now. Okay, we'll go back and we'll fix that in a minute, right? But I think it's kind of working, right? So, so we're going to do one other thing, right? We've got our next button here, and we want to make the previous button. So I'm actually going to just copy this code here, paste it, and then remember we have the previous button, right? So we've got this previous button, and when you click the previous button, what we'll want to do is we'll want to remove the next class from containers class list. So what we'll do is we'll just change this to remove, right? So now we're saying container class list remove this class name. Okay, so when you click the previous button, we'll remove the class, and when you click the next button, we'll add the class. Okay, so let's give that a try. I don't know what was going on before. Hey, there's that one. I can go back and forth now, right? So I'm not sure what was going on. I think there was just some sort of hiccup in here. But anyway, there you go. Thanks for watching, and I hope that that's interesting, and maybe you can take these ideas. There's not a lot of code there, so I think this is pretty easy to play with. So I think that, and there's a lot of other possibilities with this. There's a lot of things you can do. You know, you could build a lot of content in here. You could use this to create like onboarding or, you know, any lots of different things. Okay. So anyway, thanks for watching, and see you later.